A professional stonemason should install your Old World Stoneworks fireplace mantel. The mason should exercise extreme caution in handling heavy stones and must adequately secure the fireplace mantel to the wall. Old World Stoneworks is not responsible for the safety or quality of the installation or personal injury or property damage resulting from improper installation. The video depicts one possible method for installing the fireplace mantel. Your professional mason may use another equally effective method. The mason should comply with manufacturer's instructions, warnings, and safe work practices while using tools and materials, including scaffolding and acid, to install the fireplace mantel. Hello, my name is Bob Brenner, and I would like to thank you for buying a mantel from Old World Stoneworks. I'm here to help guide you through the installation process of one of our mantels. The first thing is to dismantle the crate and move the stones inside. We've just unloaded this fireplace and put it here in the garage. When we unload it, you'll notice that we put the stones like the hearth, which is going to be the very first stones to go down, on top so that we'll be able to get to it and maneuver the stones. You want to be sure when you're stacking them that you stack them, the top stones on the bottom and the bottom stones on the top. Also, you want to be sure that when you're stacking them that you use the material that it's packaged with in the crate to stack them on top of so that you will not chip any of your edges. Now, when you're stacking them, you want to be sure that you stack them so that none of your edges chip, and you want to also check to be sure that all your edges are in good shape. In case something has happened during shipping and a stone has been chipped, you will be able to replace that stone faster. Should you find any damage on any of the stones when unpacking it, you want to be sure to call us at 800-600-8336 and report that damage. Any damage should be reported within 7 days of delivery. Now, when you get all of these stones out and laid out in here, you'll want to check to make sure that you have the right number of stones. Now, each stone will have a number on it that relates to a number that's on your diagram so that you'll be able to put the fireplace together properly. For example, when you look at these stones in this particular diagram, there are 6 N16s that go with this one. Well, we checked out and we've got 2 stacks of 3, 1, 2, 3, and there's 3 more back over here, 4, 5, 6. We've checked to make sure that we've got all 6 of those stones. It's easy to see an N16 and not realize that you need 6 of them instead of 1 of them. And you want to be sure that you've got your sand with you to make your mortar with. If it's an overmantle like this, you'll have 2. If it's an undermantle only, it'll be 1 bag of sand. Here we have our basic tools. A rubber mallet, a Wonder Bar, blue masking tape, a level, a straight edge, a grout bag, a pointing tool, a couple of drills, one for drilling in the stone and one for putting your screws in, 1/4-inch spacers, brick ties, L brackets, Tapcons or 1/4-inch plastic shields, and number 10 screws. This particular project is being done in our office. As you can see, it's a remodel. We've taken down the old fireplace that was here and we're putting up a new fireplace. We put tar paper down to cover up the wood floor to be sure that the moisture wouldn't seep through between the mortar and ruin the subflooring underneath it. We have put construction paper on the floor here and taped it down to the floor in order to protect the wood floor. This is a finished wood floor, and you don't want to harm it with laying stones down on it and chipping up any of the stones or chipping up any of the floor. You'll probably want to do this if you have any kind of finished floor in place. If your finished flooring isn't in place yet and you just have your subflooring there, this is probably not necessary. As you see, this firebox itself is only about 8 inches deep. It is not a real firebox, it's a faux firebox. Yours shouldn't be this shallow unless you're making a fake firebox. When taping the grout joints, you want to be sure that you get the tape right up to the edge of the stone so that when you flick back like this, the tape isn't sticking over the edge. We'll usually bring it up to this edge like this and then cut it off smooth down here. These are all the edges that are going to be exposed to grout. Come down. This is going to be a flat face stone that's going on the upper part of the mantel, so this part of it will be on the inside, this part will be on the bottom, this part will be on the top of it, and you don't need to have any tape in the way of any of that. So you tape off where the grout is going to be sitting on it. To make grout mix, use 1.5 parts white masonry mix with 4 parts sand. The first step is to put the hearth in, if you've got a hearth with it, which of course we do. We like to set our hearths wet because you need to be sure that they're very level when they go in to start off with. So we set it on this bed of mud, and that way Don is able to level the whole hearth up so that when we go to put the rest of the fireplace on top of it, it'll all be level. Use that mallet, and as you notice, this was a black mallet, and we covered it with a piece of cloth to prevent it from making black marks on the stone as we tamp this thing down. As you can tell, we have set these 5 stones that are set so far in mud, which we call setting them wet, where the mortar is already set and underneath it. We did that so that we would ensure that all of these bottom pieces are exactly level and plumb, because it's really necessary for when the rest of the fireplace is going to be going up. Now the rest of the pieces, when we set them, we'll set them on 1/4-inch spacers like that, enough of them on top of each stone to support the stone on top of them and get it level. Be sure to use 1/4-inch spacers between, under, and behind the stones. And there'll be an open grout joint, just like on the front of this hearth right here on these joints here, and they'll be open all the way up. We'll come back and get those with the grout bag. We tie all of the stones to the wall with these brick ties or angle irons. Be sure when you do it that you tie them into a stud or into the brick or into something solid, because these are what hold the fireplace to the wall. There's several ways of tying this fireplace to the wall. The ones most commonly used are either brackets, metal brackets, or brick ties. You should use 1/4-inch plastic shields and number 10 screws with the angle brackets, otherwise the grout joint will be too thick. If you're using brick ties, you can use the same thing, the shields, or you can also use a screw called a Tapcon screw. Now Tapcons won't work with the metal brackets because they make a 5/8-inch grout joint. It's too thick. When you use them with the brick ties, it makes a 1/4-inch grout joint. It works just fine. I will say, if you are using the brick ties and you're tying a heavy stone to the wall like this, you want to be sure that you bend the brick tie right where the screw is going into the wall, so there's no room to pull it out from the wall when the weight of that stone pulls forward on there. That's very critical, because if you bend it in the middle and try to put the screw right up here, the heavy weight can cause this bottom part to bend out a little bit and flex your mantle down. When putting in one of our fireplaces which have keystones in them, we recommend using a template. You can cut your template out of plywood. We recommend laying it out flat and then tracing around to get the shape for your template. It's used to help support the right and left side while you're getting your keystone in place. If everything isn't just right, you need to be sure that you shim it up to get it plumb and level, and that's what's happening right now. Putting an extra 1/16 of an inch in there to make everything just right. That shim will stay there until we've grouted it in. If you use wood shims in this manner, you want to be sure that you soak them in water first of all, so that they will already swell up. If not, if you put them in dry, when you put your mortar in, it'll soak the water out of it, it'll soak it into the shim, it'll swell it up. When you pull it back out, it'll chip the stone. You'll notice right here we have used brick ties to tie this keystone to these outside 2 stones. By tying them that way, it will keep this mantle from spreading. Grouting the lower section first will stabilize the mantle while setting the overmantle. We recommend using either a grout bag or a grout gun to point up the joints. Insert the grout into the joints until it fills and overfills slightly. When you put the grout in, it'll be real wet when you first put it in. It needs to set up for 5 or 10 minutes before you can work it. But then after it starts setting up, there's a critical time in there. You don't want it to get too dry so that it flakes on you when you start working it. So from between 10 and 15 or 20 minutes after the mortar goes in there, you want to go in and start finishing off and finishing your grout joints up so that it won't flake on you. Using a pointing tool, smooth out the grout evenly. Don't strike. Try to make the mantle appear to be one stone. After the grout has set up for 15 or 20 minutes, buff the joints with a piece of short-napped carpet. Burlap works fairly well, but the carpet is better. Next, you should peel off the tape and burnish the joints one more time. This should get the grout almost the same texture as the rest of the stone. As you can see, we've come to a point now that the next group of stones that go on are going to be up above our chest. They're heavy. We needed to set up scaffolding. If you're setting up a fireplace yourself that is taller or has an upper mantle, you'll have to set up scaffolding as well. I want you to notice that we're still tying all of the stones to the wall. You want to be sure you do that because tying them to the wall keeps it from falling off of the wall. Also, you want to be sure that you catch a stud in the wall, something to anchor it to it solid. If it's a brick wall, you can screw it in anywhere on that brick wall. When you have finished grouting and allowed the mantle to dry, usually the next day, we recommend washing the mantle with muriatic acid. This process should remove any smudges that might get on the stone during the setup and also take some of the whiteness from the grout, making it a closer color match to the stone. As you can see, last night we finished putting the rest of this mantle up. We've got the tape off, we've got the joints all finished grouting and tooled. And we came back this morning and we acid washed the top of it down to the mantle cap and removed the scaffolding. So it'd make it a little easier for you to see how we wash this mantle. Now we're going to acid wash the lower mantle. When using muriatic acid, it is recommended to follow the warnings on the bottle, which may include the use of rubber gloves, goggles, and/or a filter mask. Muriatic acid should be used in a well-ventilated room. Use a solution of 15% acid and 85% water. You must be careful when washing the stones to get the entire mantle wet with water first before applying any acid, and wipe off the stone within a couple of minutes with a sponge wet with water. The stone is very porous and if not soaked with the water will absorb the acid and etch the surface. We only want to clean the surface of the stone. If you begin the process at the top of the mantle, you won't drip on previously cleaned stone. When repairing a chipped stone, be sure to get the area being patched wet before applying the patch. Mix 1 part white Portland to 3 parts sand. Make the mixture as dry as possible and still stick together. Apply patch and smooth in place. Have a spray bottle of water and keep the patch damp for 12 to 16 hours. If you don't, the stone will suck all of the moisture from the patch and it will turn flaky. We finished our fireplace. As you can see, it's all washed down. It's starting to dry out in places at the top. It may take up to 2 days to finish drying out completely. Now you can enjoy your beautiful Old World Stoneworks mantle. If you have any further questions, call us at our 800 number and we will be happy to assist you. A professional stonemason should install your Old World Stoneworks fireplace mantel. The mason should exercise extreme caution in handling heavy stones and must adequately secure the fireplace mantel to the wall. Old World Stoneworks is not responsible for the safety or quality of the installation or personal injury or property damage resulting from improper installation. The video depicts one possible method for installing the fireplace mantel. Your professional mason may use another equally effective method. The mason should comply with manufacturer's instructions, warnings, and safe work practices while using tools and materials, including scaffolding and acid, to install the fireplace mantel.